In this video, we're going to talk about standard and word form and how to go back and forth from standard and word form. So first, let's start with some definitions. Standard form is the representation of a number using digits. So you can see that through the example below. 25,476. Word form is the representation of a number using written words. So again, there's an example below. 25,476. So as you can see, these examples are equivalent. They're this exact same number written two different ways. So we're going to practice going back and forth. First, let's start with this number. When you read a number, or when you're going from standard to word form and word form to standard form, you want to chunk and read, just like what we learned in a previous video. So let's go ahead and chunk this, and let's label our periods. Remember, this first period, we do not name it. The second period, this is the thousands period. This next period is which period? If you said millions, kiss your brain. All right. As we read, which side do we start on? We start on the left side. So we're going to chunk it, and I'm going to help you chunk this one. What does this say? 374. So we're going to write 374. Now, we have a comma. When you get to the commas, before you put a comma in your word form, you are going to state the house name. So 374 million. And you can put your comma in your word form. Okay, let's chunk the next part. The next section says what? 590. So let's go ahead and write that. Okay, are we done yet? Well, I see the comma, so I'm going to go ahead and state the house name or the period name. That's 1,000. Then we can put our comma. And let's chunk and read the last part. What does this section say? 309. So that's what we're going to write. It is as easy as that. Chunk and read. So 374 million, 374 million, 590,000, 590,000, 309, 309. Let's do one more from standard form to word form. The biggest thing is when we're going from standard form to word form, listen to what you're saying. If you need to say it out loud to yourself, go ahead. All right, so let's get started. We're going to start by labeling our periods. And I'm going to need your help labeling the periods on this one. What do we do with this period right here? Leave it be. What about this period? What's this period called? Thousands. What about this period? Millions. And what about this period? Billion. All right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You might be thinking, hey, I thought you said that a period was a 3-digit grouping of numbers. I only see an 8 there. Guess what? There is still a tens and a hundreds place. It's just occupied by zeros. And there are zeros going on forever and ever this way. So we can just not put those zeros. Now, we do have to put zeros like this right here because these hold that place and let us know that this 8 is in the billions place. The 1 billions place to be exact. But I'm going to erase all that for the time being. And let's just get started. All right, so what number do you see here? Just an 8. All right, so we're going to write 8. And then we've gotten to the comma. So at the comma, what do? We write the house name, and then we can put a comma. So 8 billion. All right, what do you see here? Zeros, right? And there is a 0 in the ones, tens, and hundreds place of this period. What do you think we're going to do? What do you think we're going to write for that? If you said nothing, give yourself a cha-cha-cha. All right, so when there is a 0, or when there are zeros in the ones, tens, and hundreds place of a period, you do not have to say that period. We do not need to say 0 millions. Just not going to put it, okay? It is going to be very important that you understand periods and how they work and their order, so that this does not confuse you when we go from writing it from word form to standard form. And you will see that in one of the examples. All right, so let's move right along to the next period. What do you see in this period? 57. So that's what we're going to write. We're going to write 57. And then we've gotten to a comma. So what are we going to do at that comma? We're going to write the period name. So 57,000. And we can put our comma. And now we're at our last section of the number. So we're at our last chunk, y'all. 803. So notice I'm chunking, I'm reading, I'm putting the period name. So I'm chunking 8, 8. Then I'm putting the period name, billion, billion. We don't have to say anything for that. I'm chunking again, 57, 57. There's a comma, so I'm saying the period name, 1,000, 1,000, 803, 803. And please remember, it is not 803. We don't say and until we start working with decimals. So it is 803. 8,057,803. All right, so now let's flip it. Let's start with word form and go into standard form. Okay, so when you're going from word to standard, you know how we label, or sorry, when we go from standard to word, you know how we label the periods? So when we go from word to standard, which is what we're doing now, word form, we are going to identify the periods. So it's still a very similar step. We're going to identify the periods. So what periods do you see? Well, I see million in this number, and I see thousand in this number. Okay, and I know this last little bit is going to be part of that period, the ones period, but the one that we really don't name. Okay, so once we've identified our periods, again, we're going to chunk and read. So we're going to read up until we get to that period. So what do I see? I see 72. I'm going to write a 72 right there. Then I see million. We're going to put a comma. That's what we do there. So 72 million. Let's go to the next one. We're not going to worry about the period yet. We're just going to read right before that period. So 641. Do you know how to write 641? Just like this. If you wrote it just like that, give yourself a oh yeah. All right, so now we have the period name. What goes at the period name? A comma. And then we have our last little chunk, 509. 509. That's all there is to do. Chunk and read. Identify your periods. We had million, thousand, and the one that we don't name. Then we chunked it. 72, 72, million, 641, 641, 1,000, 509. All right, let's do another one. The next one's going to be a little bit trickier, so make sure you're paying attention. All right. So here we have lots of different periods. Let's go ahead and look at them. We have a billions period. I see the millions. I see the thousands. And then we have the one that shall not be named. All right, let's get this chunking and reading started. So here we have 3. So we're going to write a 3. Then we have billion. So we're going to put a comma there. Let's see what we have next. Next we have 4. So we're going to put a 4. Then we have million. Hold on. Does that look right to you? Absolutely not. Why can this 4 million not be written like that? Hopefully you were saying, because we have to have 3 places in a period. A period is a 3-digit grouping of numbers. Okay, remember, a period is a 3-digit grouping of numbers. So if all I have is 4, how am I going to write that? Could I write it like this? Can I just put my zeros there? Just tag it on at the end. No, because then we're saying what? 400 million. And it's not 400 million. Could we just put 1 on each side? So share the love. Put 1 on each side. Well, no, because then we'd have 40 million. You have to make sure you're paying attention to what it's saying. It's saying 4 million. So 4 million is going to look like this. All right, let's do our next section. 299. 299, and then 1,000. So we need our comma. And then finally, 322. 322. That's all there is to it. Chunk and read, friends. Chunk and read. All right. Lastly, we're going to do one. And do not let this one trick you. Okay? Pay super duper close attention. All right. So here we go. The first thing we're doing, identifying those periods. Million. And then the period that shall not be named. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We have 6 million. 6 million. Now you might be going, okay, well, you just told me that there's 3 spots. There's a ones, a tens, a hundreds place in each period. Why can we just do the 6 here? Well, we can just do the 6 here because there are invisible zeros going that way. Okay. If you wanted to put the 2 zeros, you could. It would still be correct. All right, so we have 6,267,267. 267. Is that correct? Hopefully you said no, no, no. What does this number say? If we were to draw our periods over it, we would have the period that's not named. And what period is this? The thousands period. So this actually says 6,267. What do we need to do? Well, we cannot forget about that thousands period. So what we're going to do is we know this needs to be our millions period. We need a thousands period. And then we need our period that we shall not name. So 6 million, and then it's 267. And we know that goes in this period here. So what about this period? What are we doing here? If you said there needs to be 3 zeros there. Give yourself a cha-cha-cha. All right, this is kind of like our example way back when we came here. This one, remember, was 8 billion, and then we didn't say anything for the million. This is a very similar concept, except for when it's not stated here, when the thousands place is not stated there, we have to put zeros in that thousands place. Okay, that way it is 6,267,000 and not 6,267.